morning.
And nobody's sick because the deputy went out there and let it go.
We're all well.
Perhaps not nearly. Okay. Ms. Hancock, you've got the invocation this morning. Mr. Cromartie, you've got the pledge. Regular minutes. And is there any changes on the agenda, Mr.
Yes, sir. We will have a couple of walk-ons. Number one will be a resolution will change the pay and grade for our Chief Information Officer and Project Management Director. So change we're making to Ryan Preble's position, so we need to make that resolution change. The other thing that
where do you want to put that?
We can put that right under number 7.
Okay.
Under new business. We also do have 2 videos that we would like for you to view. The North Carolina Association of County Committee or County Commissioners video and our county public affairs video.
Okay. And I said that'll be 8 and 9.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Anything else? Anything from the commissioner? Okay. Now we do have some appointments this morning. And let's see here, under unfinished business, we got a tax exclusion of the Housing Authority of the City of Goldsboro. We got 2 of them.
Yes, sir. We have 2 requests and from the City of Goldsboro and Property Tax Commission. The first one we are recommending approval. The second one at this time we're not recommending approval because it has some commercial area in it. And our concern is, we don't want to make it tax exempt at this point. So the first one is just a regular residential housing, but the second one could be considered commercial, so we're not recommending it this time until it moves towards residential.
Do we need to pull it? Or
you don't have
we've
to
separated.
Pull it. You need to do it, but when he's talking about the first one that you want to approve, which is really the one on page 9 and
Yes,
10, 7 and 8 is the one he's saying that down on Summer Street that you did not want. He's recommending against you approving that one.
So you recommending that we vote on that and disapprove?
Yes, sir.
That's the one on 9 and 10, you said?
Yes, sir.
Now, the one you disapprove
is the first one.
Is the one that's on 7 and 8.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
If you're following the recommendation of the manager.
So disapprove the first one. Let's disapprove the right one now.
Right. That's right. That's why I didn't, and I bought.
Number 2.
Right. I flipped to the wrong page.
But you said
on the new business.
because it's got commercial. Yes.
Unfinished.
It is a commercial building right now.
So number 2 under unfinished business is one we want to.
Cut that thing all the way down.
Yeah.
The number 2 one, I think, is what the manager's recommending that you approve.
Right. That is a residential parcel.
Okay, number 2 is yes then.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, we got to get our orders right.
That's right.
Well, then which one is no?
Number one.
Number one.
Okay.
Parcel
All right, I'm good.
259985783.
That's the
Okay.
one that's got the commercial property
Yes, sir.
attached to it.
Yes, sir.
And we can come back and revisit that is the recommendation and also working with our tax department, but it is, commercially zoned property and we just don't feel like it should be exempt at this time.
Okay. All right, number 3 is the sale of timber at various high schools by the Board of Education.
As the board's aware, we tabled this from our last meeting. The plan is that they're going to look at 5 different areas around schools in Wayne County. The bid was around $110,000 for all of it, or excuse me, the estimation. But they have not bid it out yet. They need your approval. Part of this, the reason why the timber came up is down at Southern Wayne, where we're looking at expanding the gym. We had to timber that area anyway. So part of the discussion was, if we're looking at doing that, we might as well see what areas we have that we can sell for timber, and that's when they came up with this list.
So they're asking us to vote, to give them the right to go out.
Yes, sir. And they will use that money for small capital projects. This is not money that they will put back in operations, but this funds have to be used for capital projects.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Only in government would you possibly go hire someone to do the survey and then publicly announce what you anticipate the bids to be. Only government would do that.
You have to have a guesstimation of projected revenue.
Well, I realize that, but it'd probably be a good idea to keep those numbers quiet until after the bids are,
That's probably a very good suggestion.
at any rate.
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
just for y'all's information, the natives are restless over this though, because I've had several timber people to contact me, and I told them that, it would be put out for bids, and that the school board would be glad to take the highest bid. But this is being talked.
Well, good.
All right. Budget amendments. Most fun part of our meeting.
The first one is for the sheriff's office. They are anticipating reimbursement for their anti-gang grant, and this is to go towards overtime in the amount of $24,960 to help offset the reaction initiative they are working on.
Sheriff shows up just in time.
The next one is for Wayne County Development Alliance, and there's an attachment behind this to give you a little more detail. But basically, we have a cash incentive agreement with Georgia Pacific, and it is for them to, I lost my train of thought. It is for them to invest in additional buildings and improvements and things like that, and they would, and our agreement was over 5 years, they would receive a certain percentage back in their property taxes, and that schedule is attached to the budget amendment. We have to estimate that amount each year, and it's just an estimate, so we are requesting some additional funds to be able to pay this out to them.
So they invested more than we had budgeted for, basically.
Yes, sir, and if you look at that attachment behind your budget amendment, it will show you, if I can get to that page, it'll show you the various investments that they've made, the taxable value of the property, and then below that, what the tax paid was on that investment. And then it shows you the amount that we are to pay back per that grant agreement. And we are on payment number 3 of a 5-year agreement for that.
I'm trying to remember that stair step a little bit.
Yes, sir.
I thought I remembered that.
Your next budget amendment is for the Maxwell Center. This is to transfer funds for the construction contract on the farmer's market in the amount of $78,903. If you recall, we do have $500,000 set aside from the tobacco trust, but this additional amount will cover the remainder of that contract. And it is coming out of the contingency line item within the Maxwell Center.
And where are we at on that construction project?
We are, I know the seal's been ordered. It will not be ready by opening, but it is moving forward.
Okay, your next one is for Meadow Lane Elementary. You all approved to build an additional 8 classrooms for this project, and so we are just presenting the budget amendment to transfer the funds for that to the capital project. For the sheriff's office, $1,275. They've received a donation to help purchase a K-9 vest.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Can we go back to this Meadow Lane? It's my understanding that if there's any leftover funds from the schools, that would first go toward this. Is that correct?
If there's any leftover funds
From the bonds?
Any leftover funds from sales tax or from lottery funds In other words, we use their monies first before.
That's correct.
Right.
That's correct.
Okay.
But we don't, Mr. Chairman, we don't know what that figure is at this point, is that right?
That's right.
Right. But whatever's left, am I correct that it is coming out of our fund balance? Is that
Well,
right?
we are anticipating transferring from fund balance the portion of the $1.4 million, and that was for the 8 classrooms. But if there is any remainder in the sales tax or the lottery, then that would help to offset those costs. But a lot of those monies are already spoken for with debt service and other projects that are going on.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, for the sheriff's office, we have a budget amendment for controlled substance receipts in the amount of $164.85. The sheriff's office, a budget amendment for $30,500. This is to move monies from their non-capital line item of federal forfeiture to the capital line item, and this is for the purchase of a boat for the dive team. For the sewer project,
Sheriff, you can explain that to us a little bit. I'm not quite sure how many dive boats we got around on it.
Okay, the only boat that our dive team has is an inflatable Zodiac that it was obtained sometime in the 90s from Pitt County, who had got it from a surplus, Army surplus. So right now, we keep a bottle hooked to it, keep it inflated. You know, as they're making rescues, you have to keep an air bottle hooked to it because it's got so many holes in it. But that is still serviceable. The boat I'm asking for right now wasn't a CIP for next year, but Mormack's boat went out. The engine they're not going to replace it because it's so expensive to do that. And so the boat I've requested is for us to have a boat as the sheriff's office. The only other boat in the county for the dive team, Arrington has a boat. Last year it went out, but
So this would be it.
This is it except for their boat. And this particular boat I'm requesting, it is particularly for going in shallow areas. The boat that Mormack and Arrington have is the jet propulsion that draws water in from the bottom, and so they can only go in certain areas. It's got to be certain depth. This boat I'm requesting is, I guess you call it a mud boat. It's what swamp people use.
Yeah.
It's double hulled. It'll go through shallow mud. It'll go over stumps if you have.
Kind of cage on the prop to keep it from coming off.
However that thing is designed, it is protected so that it meets OSHA standards for safety. Plus, it's able to go through areas like that. And of course, you know how the river is now. We have so many areas you can't hardly access to without going through shallow areas. So that's the reason I'm requesting this type boat. It also is equipped with a side scan sonar for locating bodies and evidence underwater.
Quick question. The motor that I think, acquired last year?
Okay, that was the Zodiac, for the Zodiac. You know, when we had the hurricane, we had a small motor on that Zodiac for just propelling it.
So you're keeping the Zodiac?
Yes, and we're actually looking for another Zodiac on wherever they look through the surplus stuff. I've got a man that looks through trying to get an Army surplus one to replace the one we got. I have it in a CIP for next year in case we can't find one, but we're trying to find one that's at no cost.
So these funds include the motor?
Well, if I may, do you want to explain what happened on that?
There's a budget amendment a little further back. I've not gotten to it yet for $9,500. That is for the motor for the inflatable boat that he has. That was actually approved in June of last year. However, he had not spent it at June 30, so we needed to reappropriate it. So this budget amendment that I'll present a little bit later is really just to reappropriate what was already approved.
Okay.
I did buy that motor, but it's not to be reappropriated again. That budget amendment is to be pulled back except for finance purposes.
Right, it's just an accounting entry. It was reappropriated to a non-capital line item, and it needs to be in a capital line item to meet our threshold for fixed assets.
We had to go back and research that anyway, it was a mistake to put that in as a budget amendment, but anyway, we got it all cleared up, but it's not to be spent again.
We're good.
But this motor and boat is for the complete set of 30,000. Because that
So the
motor.
30,000 does include a boat motor?
It includes a boat motor, but it's not that boat motor that we already purchased.
It's too early in the morning on this stuff.
It will have a motor on it.
So the 30,000 does have boat and motor?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And a side scan sonar equipped, ready for rescue work.
We already approved the other motor, but you never.
That was, yeah, that was
So she
last
got-
year.
She
and
just got
that's-
to move it on the
Yes, sir.
accounting side. Okay.
Thank you and Chip both for the explanation last week. It kind of cleared it up for me, surely. And I do like the fact that you're getting this boat. And kind of like the training center, where the county kind of took initiative to get the training center started and spread out across the county, not just individual fire districts being tasked with that budget responsibility of boats and stuff. So
Now, there is one other boat in, it's a 75 model, the best we can determine, that Mount Olive gave the county many years ago. It's housed at Grantham, but it's a deep hull Boston whaler, and it'll only go in, they keep it and they go out and help boaters where they can, but, you know, it's only can go in certain areas because it's a deep hull.
Well, Mr. Chairman, while we're talking boats, what does Seven Springs have? I know they got some boats, but I don't have a clue what they are. It could be a rowboat for all I know. And the only reason because I was told the other day that they got them housed in the old EMS building. But I don't know what they got.
I know during the hurricane, the fire department had like a small, I call it a John boat.
That may be what they've got. I've never seen them, so I don't
Two
know.
aluminum John boats.
Okay.
Well, as much as Seven Springs floods, they need a boat.
Another question? Thanks, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Your next budget amendment is for the Grantham Sewer Capital Project. They have had 2 change orders that needed to be approved, so we are requesting to move additional funds to fund those change orders.
And we're still under budget with, you know, what we originally thought. However, we've had more change orders on this project than we would have liked to have seen.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I mean, you stating that we've had more change orders than we would like to have seen, but the project's not completed yet.
It's not complete yet.
So are we going to see more change orders?
I believe I know there's one that is being looked at now, an additional one. So, and working with Kendall, there's things that there was some surveying issues that we didn't go deep enough on a manhole, and we've had some issues.
Mr. Chairman. Well, it's interesting, but in the spirit of transparency, I'm trying to understand what the change orders are. It's one thing to say change orders, but it's another thing to saying what those change orders are. So if you had 2 change orders, it would be nice for us to have the information of what those change orders were.
I have that breakdown if you
You
would like.
mentioned something in regards to a manhole going deep enough.
Right.
Did the engineer make that mistake when he was?
We believe that some of the surveying should have been a little bit better.
Some of the surveying should have been a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Well,
I think we fixed some water lines and telephone lines too, haven't we?
Well, and we've cut some cable lines and telephone lines, and one day we cut the water line and had to close school out at Grantham. So we've had some issues on locations.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Let's just cut through the tape. We're paying somebody to tell us what to do, and we having all these change orders? That's not acceptable. I mean, we're paying thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars for advice from either an engineer or a consultant or whatever. I can see some small things, but one right after the other, we got a problem.
Mr. Chairman, if I can pick up on that. If we've got an engineer that's going out here doing the site survey and then so forth, why is that firm not being held responsible when these change orders come up? It just sounds to me like you go out, you do a survey, so you don't show things as such in your contract, and then all of a sudden we have problems, and guess what? We got to pay for it. Why wouldn't they have to pay for some of this?
There's sometimes that when you do get out into the field, it is a little bit different than what it is once you start digging. And that, you do expect some change orders. But we've had, this is almost $59,000 worth of change orders, and there's some on the way. So
we're going to look into to see what they.
You're going to look into.
We are looking into it. We are looking into it.
Well, if not, I don't understand. Most people are held accountable if you do work. If you go out and survey a man's property and you make a mistake, guess what? It's on you. It's not on the property owner necessarily.
Right.
So somebody has to be held responsible.
These are not weathermen.
I beg your pardon?
These are not weathermen.
They're not weathermen. I love it.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I guess I need to follow up and say we got the same problem in other areas of the county on projects, and I'll leave it at that. Okay? Mr. Parker, you aware?
Yes, sir, and I'm looking into that too.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Next one is for Cooperative Extension. They are requesting to anticipate $600 for their horticultural program, and this is to anticipate fees to offset the program materials that will be used to conduct that program. For the Maxwell Center, we are asking to anticipate and appropriate $18,000. This is the revenue that we have received so far on the brick pavers, and we need to anticipate that revenue so we can then pay out the line items for any costs that we have on that.
And the first order of bricks are on their way.
Really?
Yes, sir, the first of brick.
Does that include the emblem?
The logo, yes, sir.
Yeah, good.
Very exciting.
Does that include mine? I'm just joking.
Will they be installed by
I
the
defer
time
my
for the opening?
comments to Mr. Pate. I'm sorry, what?
Will they be installed for the opening?
Yes, sir.
First order?
Yes, sir.
Really? Good.
I know we got some things that are not going to be ready, like the Hall of Fame. Is the wall outside going to be done, and the donor wall on the inside?
Donor wall, to my knowledge, is going to be done, but like I said, the Hall of Fame for the ag will not be complete by opening. But to my understanding, the Wall of Fame will be done.
Isn't there going to be another plaque or something on the inside in regards to contributions and such? Is that going to be ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, just we did a really extraordinary artwork and all this for the the Hall of Fame for ag, and that's just taking a little bit longer. So we're in talking with Kevin and the ag committee on Monday. We're going to have a special event for that as well once that is installed.
Have a second party.
Okay. For the sheriff's office, we are requesting to clean up some of their salary line items, and this actually is for the detention center. They are fully staffed now, but some of the fringe benefits were not budgeted. If you recall, back in October, we approved for some additional staffing out there because the detention center inmate count is up. And so some of their salary line items just need to be adjusted for that were not adjusted in that budget amendment prior. They are offsetting the majority of this with misdemeanor jail fees. However, we do feel like we have probably increased that line item as much as we can. So this will probably be the last time you see that until we feel like we can adjust it up further. Your next budget amendment is for the staff attorney's office, and this is just, we are requesting to move the expenditure line items associated with the staff attorney, Andrew Neal, and his paralegal to a separate department from the line items that Borden is paid out of. We feel like this will be a little bit easier to track the activities of the staff attorney's office. So we are just moving those line items from one department to another. Your next budget amendment is for some 911 expenditures, $80,560. They are requesting to have all of their radio-related expenditures moved under one department In the past, it's been under 2 or 3 departments, and they felt like it was easier to track if it was all housed under one department. So they are moving it to the OES line item. You have a budget amendment for the staff attorney's office, and as you know, they are working on foreclosures for the county, and we need to upfront some expenditures to be able to pay for filing fees and court costs and those various types of things. We do anticipate some reimbursements on that, but we do have to pay those out first. So we are just appropriating some monies to kind of cover that program for the rest of the year.
And as I understand, Counselor, this is moving along real well.
Very well, very well.
For the Maxwell Center, we are requesting to reallocate $40,762 from the contingency line item to maintenance and repairs of equipment. And this is to appropriate funds for the AV equipment as replacement inventory. This is to help avoid prolonged service interruptions if they have any equipment failures. And Ryan Preble is here with a breakdown. I think that was requested earlier, and you all have a handout, or will have a handout of that breakdown. And he is here if you have any questions.
Some expensive stuff, isn't it?
Brian, could you come up?
Yeah, but if you look at the date, I mean, this was proposed way back in 5/25 of 2017, so it was anticipated that it was going to be needed.
So I guess that's the question you just asked. Was this all anticipated from the beginning, or?
Yeah, so how we originally did this was we had built this into the project, but Mr. Wood asked us to separate that out as operating expense. So they moved it over at that time because those spare parts were needed for obvious reasons. If we have any issues, we can't wait for a technician to show up and start working on that during an event or anything like that. So these are just one-for-one swaps when we have issues. So again, Mr. Wood had asked for us to separate that out into operating costs. So one, you could identify that, hey, these are spare parts, these aren't a part of the production system that we have, and so that's what we did, and now they're correcting that now.
Questions?
If we need it, we need it.
If I have all the breakdowns as far as what goes where, if you guys want to go through that, but it's up to you guys.
I guess I got a wild question. Probably no one in this room can answer, but I'm just going to ask, how many events have been scheduled so far, March and July 1?
Not sure the total. I do know we do have some, a lot of the weekends are scheduled, but I'm not sure the correct number.
It's kind of hard to get this thrown on you just late in the budget year, and it's just before opening, and this having redundancy built in, I agree with and understand, but it's kind of late in the game and late notice to be looking at this today. I prefer to table it until next meeting, give everybody a chance to review it and look over a little bit. And I'd like to really find out how many events have been planned between March 1 and July 1. I hope most of this information given us is going to all be warranty anyway, isn't it?
All the equipment we buy is warranted.
Yeah.
Right. This is simply a case of if we're in the middle of an event and something goes down, we can't wait for it to show up from Raleigh with a technician. This is swap it out and we're back on the road.
I understand that.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
My question is, did Mr. Wood actually have this in the budget under contingency, and we're just moving it to another line item?
Correct.
I think,
That's how you understand it, right?
is that correct?
That's
So in
correct.
other words, back in May, before the budget was approved this year, it was in there, but it was under a contingency line item?
He had asked us to put all the revenues that we had received prior to this budget year in contingency because we had not, been open yet or anything like that to know what our total operating expenses would be. So we really didn't budget for any operating expenses. So this is, as we've gone along over the last several months, you've seen some budget amendments that have sort of allocated out for various operations that we've had to cover so far. And this was just another one. We had a budget meeting with them back a few weeks ago to make sure everything was on track for the Maxwell Center. And this was one that we realized we needed to move out of contingency and put in operations like Mr. Wood requested.
Well, to follow up on that, if it was included in the budget, I assume you've already put this out and got the equipment, have you not?
Yes, we do.
So you already have it.
All it was a matter of final accounting, because we had bought the equipment, we were approved for that.
I mean, it was already in the budget.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
This is just for our information today, right? We've already approved this.
Yes, it's
Okay.
already been accounted for.
Right.
It's just.
Okay, we're just
shuffling
moving
it
from
around.
one line item to the
So
other.
the equipment's already sitting over there.
Say again?
The equipment's already there.
Yes, we do have that equipment.
I didn't understand that when we were talking about it the other day. Did you?
I didn't know I didn't.
Okay, thank you.
Because that answers my question. I could hear all this going, but I was wondering, my question would be, without moving forward, will it keep us from being able to perform some function over there? But if you already got the equipment, that
Right, this is just backup equipment. Everything production-wise was
Is there in
bought,
place.
put in, installed. This is just in case we do have something break, because we could, that obviously could happen.
Go get that piece and put
Just
it in there.
grab it out of the closet, plug it in, good to go. Okay?
Well, Mr. Chairman, going forward, we might need a little extra explanation down at the bottom here.
Okay.
Because if it's just a matter of moving from one line item to the
Okay.
other. I mean, we were looking at this as authorizing you to go buy it. Well, actually, it's already there.
Even our agenda meeting, that's what I thought, and that's why we were
Right.
asking you to be right there, because I'm going,
right,
okay,
thank you.
we've got
No
this
problem.
on, all of a sudden we got to spend this kind of money.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, that's a little bit different.
For our next budget amendment, this is the one that we discussed a few minutes ago with the sheriff's office, $9,500. This was approved back in June, but this is just an accounting entry to get it in the correct line item.
See, and when we saw that, we said, well, we're buying another engine. I mean,
That's what I-
So I think it's the explanations, maybe.
Okay, we'll work on that. For the sheriff's office, we are requesting to move $50,000 from the detention center overtime line item to the sheriff's office overtime line item. The $50,000 in the detention center line item, that ended up being additional that they had that they did not feel like they will use. That was budgeted originally because they were not fully staffed when we did the original budget. And he is fully staffed now. He requested some additional positions back in October. I think those are filled. And so he's okay as far as his overtime line item when we look at lapsed salaries. However, the sheriff's office, they do have some vacancies. And so rather than having to appropriate fund balance, it seemed like it would be just simpler to reallocate that overtime from the detention center to the sheriff's office. Any questions on that one?
The overtime, how much, or ballpark figure or whatever, how much overtime is actually covering for the city sometimes?
The city is actually appropriating enough it's in arrears a quarter every year, 1/4 of the year, but they are allocating enough money to cover the overtime that we're spending, but it's just a little lapse in coverage
Okay.
for that overtime. So we bill them by the quarter.
So so you bill the city then?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
all right. Thank you.
Okay, for the sheriff's office, we are requesting to reallocate $14,000 to workers' comp. I've done some research on this, and I believe this was just a budgeting, in the original budget. They just had not budgeted enough for workers' comp. It was even less than last year, and they have more staff, so it really should have just been higher. So we are trying to correct that for the year. For the Jetport, requesting to reappropriate $870. This is just some unspent Eastern Region monies, and so we're just asking to bring those forward into the new year for a project that has been allocated for. And I believe that's all I have.
All right.
It's enough, isn't it?
Gotcha. Enter new business, we got some more surplus property.
Yes, sir. If you notice, the property is a non-conforming lot, which is located on Center Street, 1007 North Center Street, and the square footage of this lot is 3,774 feet. The minimum lot size in the zoning district is 6,000 feet, which makes this non-conforming. So the recommendation is to sell the lot for $1.
So we get 50 cents.
Maybe 52.
Cost associated.
Yeah, that's but cost of the postage stamp. So.
All right, just have a little fun with that. Okay, and then number 2 is our goals and projects.
Yes, sir. And we had our meeting on January 25th, and I do want to thank the board and also our delegation who was there, Senator Davis. I thought we had a very, very good meeting, very, very good discussion about goals and objectives for the upcoming year. We've added a couple of things. We've narrowed down a lot of things, but this is that final list with your votes associated with it, and we will go over that real quickly during the meeting and then ask for your approval as our priority list moving forward.
All right. Oh, here it is. Resolution supporting natural gas in northern Wayne County.
And one of our priorities that came out of that goal-setting retreat was a support for natural gas to be located in northern Wayne County, and this is kind of that first step as a resolution to support that effort.
Next is a sole source letter needed for the beer and wine purchase at the Maxwell Center.
With respect to beer and wine, it's kind of hard to bid out beer and wine because they're very specific to the brand. So we're asking for sole source purchasing for Anheuser-Busch and also Coastal Beverages that sell Miller products.
As I understand, there's something else that Joe and I need to sign today too.
Not this Joe.
Not this Joe.
Oh, I believe Christie has it. Yes, sir. For the beer and wine license.
James called me. So make sure you remind us of that before we run out of here, because I know it's important to get that done.
Yes, sir.
And then after that, we'll have our finance director to talk about our quarterly financial statement for the county, and then she'll do the one for tourism as well after that. And I guess that speaks for itself. And then we got the resolution for Ryan's position, new position.
Right, and you should have a copy of that.
There it is. Yeah.
As we're calling it, the Chief Information Officer and Project Management Director.
Okay. And following that, we'll have the 2 videos and county manager comments and the board of commissioner comments. And we do need closed session. We got time to do anything?
Probably some.
Yeah. So.
One is to discuss matters relating to location expansion of business in the county. One is to consider possible acquisition of real property. One of them is to consider the performance of a public employee or prospective employee. And finally, to consult with me to preserve the attorney-client privilege.
Is there a motion to go in closed session? So moved. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Go closed session.
Yes.